Alright, and we back on the forecast. Now, we as a collective cannot be scared to face this system. I'm more afraid of the consequences of not facing this system. Instead of attacking the root of the problem, we like to argue about the symptoms. So we give everybody else a pass and only uphold this standard that nobody else lives up to amongst ourselves. And we only want to hold each other accountable. We say stuff like we're our own worst enemy. But in reality, when you solve the root of the problem, then the symptoms go away. And when we start holding people accountable for what they do to us, they're going to start thinking twice if they know it comes with consequences. We can't be afraid to punish other people. Because believe me, they have no problem sending us a message if they even think we're getting out of line. That's how riots like the Knoxville Riot of 1919 started. One day, a white woman, Bertie Lindsay, was killed after somebody broke into her home. Now, when the cops, Jim Smith and Andy White, showed up, this white woman's cousin, Ora Smith, said the person who broke in was a mulatto man. So without any evidence, no investigation, one of the cops said, "I know exactly who did it." And then within an hour and a half, they arrested a brother named Maurice Franklin Mayes. Now, this brother Maurice Mayes was prominent in the community, and they believe he was the illegitimate son of the Knoxville mayor. He owned his own cafe, and at one point, he even became deputy sheriff. But the white residents hated him because they felt he had special privileges and he was an uppity Negro, and he needed to be put back in his place. So the cops who had already said they were going to put him in prison one way or another, and the white woman, Ora Smith, identified him without even really looking at him. And he already made himself a target because he had a reputation for messing with white women. So then the police went to his home and they found a .38. But in 1919, just about everybody had to have a gun. But these two cops claimed the gun had just been fired and it was the murder weapon. Even though later, one of the cops testified the gun was cold and was unlikely to have ever been fired. But by 8 o'clock the next morning, mobs began to form to come and lynch him. And the sheriff, seeing what's about to happen, put this brother in a wig and dress and snuck him out of jail and took him out of town. So then the mob, which was made up of mostly white women, started demanding for him to be released so they can lynch him. And the mob broke into the jail to take him, but he had already left. So then the mob started stealing liquor and guns, and then they released 16 white prisoners, including prisoners who were in there for murder. Then the mob started breaking into hardware stores and anywhere that sold guns, and then they started marching into the black community. They sent 5 truckloads of people to Chattanooga to go get this man Maurice Hayes, while everybody else started attacking the black community. Now, the black residents in Knoxville already knew about all the race wars going on across America, and they got prepared and armed themselves. Then they built barricades on the edge of the community to protect it. So then the shooting started and the National Guard was called in. But when the National Guard got there, they joined the white mob and started attacking the black community. But the black residents were already expecting it. They were posted up on rooftops shooting at the looters while they were trying to destroy their businesses. And they were winning to the point where the National Guard had to call in 100 more troops. And when their backup came, they brought in 2 Browning machine guns with them. Now, some of the black residents did try to take out the machine guns several times, but they were unsuccessful. And these black men defending their neighborhood were gradually forced back. Eventually, the National Guard got control of the neighborhood, and then they barricaded everybody in. Then they enforced a citywide curfew and deputized and armed 200 white citizens. And they ordered them to kill anybody who tried to leave. 2 black men, Carter Watkins and Claude Chambers, was killed at the train station. Another black woman who was deaf was killed because she didn't hear the orders from the National Guard, and she didn't stop when they told her to. By the end of the riot, the actual number of people killed is unknown. The newspapers reported there were only 2 deaths, but a deputy estimated it was about 25 to 30 people who were killed. But the National Guard reported it was 30 or 40 people that had been killed. But some people say it could have been over 100 people that was killed. They said there was so many bodies on the street, and a lot of the bodies was just dumped into the Tennessee River. And some of them was dumped into a mass grave. But they get on code if their blood was shed, especially to protect their women and children. We have to learn how to get on code and do the same thing and not let our women and children or ourselves be harmed. In New York, a young 20-year-old brother, Danroy Henry Jr., or DJ, who was a college athlete and a great student from a great family, was shot by Pleasantville police. So let's see how this brother ended up getting shot by the Pleasantville police.
A Massachusetts family has spent more than 8 years looking for answers after a police officer killed their son. Danroy DJ Henry, a student athlete at New York's Pace University, was shot by Officer Aaron Hess during a night out with friends. Hess claims Henry tried to run him over with his car. Witnesses report tell a different story. In tomorrow night's 48 Hours, CBS News special correspondent James Brown spoke to DJ Henry's parents about their mission to find the truth.
Dan and Angela Henry had no idea this would be the last game they would watch their son play. DJ was a junior playing football for Pace University.
A joy, a Pied Piper in the neighborhood. All of the kids loved him.
In the early morning hours of October 17, 2010, the Henrys were startled awake with the devastating news that their son was shot to death in his car.
I remember just falling to my knees.
And I said, who would shoot him?
Dan called the police and says he was floored by what he says he was told, that DJ was trying to run over a police officer and that officer had to shoot him to stop him.
Something had to have happened if that happened. Like, what caused him to do something that's so outside of his character?
DJ was out celebrating with his teammates when other patrons got into a fight. Police say that DJ was parked in a fire lane in front of a bar, and when he was asked to move, he allegedly sped towards Officer Aaron Hess, propelling him on the hood and forcing him to shoot DJ. This is police dashcam video. On the right is Officer Hess. Behind him is DJ lying in the road. He had been pulled from a car and handcuffed.
I'd like somebody to tell me what other alternative Aaron Hess had on the hood of a moving vehicle.
Aaron Hess's lawyer, Brian Sokoloff.
Other than trying to save his own life or closing his eyes and saying his prayers.
This is cell phone video shot by a bystander showing the chaos at the scene.
We're in the Wild Wild West. That's what it felt like.
Desmond Hines is one of DJ's friends who was in the car that night. He says that Hess began shooting at them unprovoked.
We weren't doing anything wrong.
The Henrys decided to hire acclaimed civil rights attorney Michael Sussman.
Do you keep evidence from every case that you handle?
I needed it to be here, so perhaps a day like today would come when we could tell the story of what really happened here.
Despite the conflict, Officer Hess was cleared of criminal wrongdoing, and that would propel the Henrys on a 7-year journey to clear their son's name.
We're not anti-police. We're just trying to understand what the facts tell us. Was it a justified shooting or was it not justified? Because if it wasn't, it was murder.
So this brother DJ Henry's family came to see his homecoming football game earlier that day. And then after the game, he and some of his teammates went out to celebrate. So then a fight broke out at the bar they were at. Now they weren't involved in the fight or anything, but after the fight, they were leaving. So this brother DJ Henry was in his car waiting for his friends to come out, but he was parked in the fire zone. So a cop knocked on his brother DJ window and asked him to move. So the brother did. He started moving his car. Then the police claimed his brother DJ sped off and hit a cop and then knocked him on the roof of the car. And while he was on the hood of the car, they said his brother sped up even more. Even though on the video, you can see him hitting his brakes before he gets to where the cop even is. So then the cop, Aaron Hess, who was on the hood, started to open fire from the hood of the car, shooting through the windshield. He shot his brother DJ Henry, killing him, and shot another passenger in the arm. Now, witnesses say this brother DJ never sped off. He moved his car slowly like the cop told him to do. Then this cop, Aaron Hess, came out from between two cars and then ended up on the hood of the car shooting into the windshield. Then after they shot this brother DJ, they took him out of the car and handcuffed him and left him face down on the ground. They were treating whatever injuries this cop had, while this brother DJ Henry laid on the ground face down dying. A civilian had to come over there and try to give him CPR or do something. One of his friends knew CPR and tried to go help, but the police yelled at him to stay back and wouldn't let him help. Now, of course, the police are putting their capes on right away, and they're staying on code doing whatever they can to protect this cop.
It's been 8 years since 20-year-old DJ Henry of Easton, Massachusetts, was killed by a police officer in Mount Pleasant, New York. And to this day, the officer who shot him hasn't faced a single consequence. DJ's parents hope to change that. They made their latest appeal before a national audience this past weekend on CBS in a new episode of 48 Hours called Defending DJ Henry. For those who don't know the story, the junior football player at Pace University was waiting for a friend outside a bar in 2010 when a police officer told him to move his car. As he did, another officer, Aaron Hess, jumped on the car's hood and fired through the windshield at DJ, who later died. Hess later claimed DJ sped up and tried to run him over, but other witnesses said DJ was simply following directions. After he was shot, DJ was handcuffed face down on the sidewalk. Police dash cam video shows people helping Officer Hess as DJ lies alone. A friend of his who was inside the bar during the shooting said he wasn't allowed to help.
Hey, that's my teammate. Can I go help him? I said, I'm CPR certified. Can I help him? And no answer. He's just like, get the back.
4 months later, a county grand jury declined to indict Hess for murder or anything else for that matter. And 2 months after that, Officer Hess was named Policeman of the Year in Pleasantville by his union for his, quote, dignity and professionalism. One of the ways the police department had justified Hess's actions include the perspective of a second officer, Ronald Beckley, whose actions then police chief Louis Alano described in a press conference the day after the shooting.
Mount Pleasant Officer Beckley was also standing in the fire lane as his vehicle drove towards him. He also discharged his weapon at the vehicle.
But in 2012, Officer Beckley admitted in a deposition that he fired his weapon at Hess that night, thinking Hess on the hood of DJ's car was the aggressor. Still, Beckley was never called to testify before the grand jury. Last year, after a $6 million settlement with the village of Pleasantville and Aaron Hess was finalized, the town did publicly apologize for their actions in the immediate aftermath of the shooting. But even then, Hess admitted no wrongdoing.
Now, of course, this cop, Aaron Hess, was not charged or punished at all. In fact, not long after that, they named him Officer of the Year and awarded him on his professionalism, even though they tried to keep it a secret that they honored him. Now, this brother, DJ Henry, didn't have a record. He was a good kid from a good family, but they still had to find a way to blame him for his own death. This cop, Aaron Hess, admitted he could have got out the way, but chose not to. And the police based their whole defense on saying this brother was speeding towards another cop, Ronald Beckley, who also opened fire. But years later, the cop, Richard Beckley, admitted that he wasn't shooting at his brother, DJ Henry. He was shooting at the cop, Aaron Hess, because he looked like he was the aggressive one. He was shooting at his fellow cop because he was the danger to society. But of course, the police wasn't trying to hear that, and they didn't investigate it or really document it at all. But the cop, Ronald Beckley, told the family he wished he could have stopped it from happening. And then he ended up retiring a couple of months later. But because he got off cold, they didn't give him full disability. The cop, Aaron Hess, ended up getting 2 years paid medical leave. And then he retired with full disability. And now, like most ex-cops, he's working as a security guard.
A brutally long 7 years wait for this. The family has focused on the DJ Henry legacy. This is the Easton Field. And tonight, they finally feel like their son's reputation as a kind, respectful young man is vindicated. Dan and Angela Henry listen as their attorney announced a settlement and set the record straight.
DJ was simply following an order, complying with an order to move his vehicle.
DJ Henry was a 20-year-old Pace University junior out with friends.
Initially, they said that DJ was trying to run people down, that they had it on film. We knew all those things weren't true.
Henry from Easton was leaving a sports bar when there was an altercation causing police to clear the area. Henry was shot and killed through the windshield by a police officer on the hood of his vehicle. The scene, chaos. But deposition after deposition revealed the truth.
We had one police officer who was attempting to protect our son by shooting another police officer, and that was redacted, largely ignored in the record, and that's a part of what this apology is about.
The town now admitting it caused additional pain to the Henry family at a most difficult time and regrets the suffering and misimpression of their son, DJ Henry. The New York town is making a donation to the DJ Henry Dream Fund, the family nonprofit which helps children. It's a confidential settlement that doesn't fill a family void.
No amount of money makes it better. No amount of money takes the pain away. No amount of money makes it right.
They apologized privately, but we wanted them to do it publicly.
They need the public to hear all about their son because on top of all this grieving, they have been receiving hate mail, people depicting their son as some sort of thug who did not obey the police. Coming up live at 6, I'll share a little bit from those letters.
Now, the police tried to justify this murder saying his brother DJ Henry was drunk, but nobody saw him take a drink. The bartender said they never served him a drink. His friends say he may have taken one drink hours earlier before they went out, but this brother wasn't anywhere close to drunk. You can see it on the video, you can see it in the toxicology report, and the police ended up apologizing and they donated to his charity, but they never talked about punishing anybody because we are the only ones that can get us out of this situation. Until we start punishing people, they're going to keep doing the same things over and over and over. We have to respond with more urgency than they do, and by any means necessary, because they will try to stay in the position they're in by any means necessary. But we can't afford to be in the same situation 100 years from now.
Week marks 100 years since race riots erupted nationwide in more than 24 cities. Knoxville was one of those cities. Reporter Gabrielle Hayes joins us with a look back at what happened that day. Gabrielle?
Well, Lewis, in February, we introduced you to Maurice Mayes and how his arrest led to riots right here in Knoxville. But what exactly happened and where? Here's a play-by-play of that day in 1919.
The story of the Knoxville Race Riot starts with one man.
There's all these questions surrounding who Maurice Mayes really was.
Mayes was accused of killing a white woman in Knoxville on August 30th, 1919. But little did the city know, his arrest would lead to one of the most racially charged periods of Knoxville's history.
It becomes one of the bloodiest, sort of most violent parts of our history with respect to race relations.
At about noon that day, word would make it around town, and angry mobs would begin looking for Mayes.
It doesn't take long for word to hit the streets.
By 6 p.m., historians say people made their way to Market Square. An area now filled with families was once filled with angry mobs. Later that day, newspaper clippings detail the mob leaving Market Square and storming Knox County Jail at the time. They wouldn't find Mayes, which only made them angrier.
The sheriff knew they were coming and put a wig and a dress on Mayes and snuck him down to Chattanooga for safekeeping.
And when they didn't find him, they turned their anger to one of the historically African-American neighborhoods.
So they broke into hardware stores and places that sold guns and knives and went to the heart of the black community.
That area now sits in today's Old City. Historical accounts note a fight between white rioters and black residents erupted up and down Central Avenue. National Guardsmen were called in. 2 men, a guardsman and a black veteran, were killed before the riots came to a close at midnight. Mayes would eventually be put to death at the Nashville State Penitentiary.
Now, no official investigation was ever launched to look into what happened that night. All we have today are newspaper clippings and the story of a man historians say was convicted of a crime he didn't commit.
California Sheriff's deputy faces a criminal investigation today after his bosses said he fabricated a story about being shot by a sniper. 21-year-old Angel Reynosa said he was hit in the shoulder on Wednesday outside his station in Lancaster, that's north of Los Angeles. The L.A. County Sheriff's Office says hundreds of officers responded. A commuter rail line was shut down and resources were wasted. Our lead national correspondent, that's David Begnaud, is following this story. David, why in the world did the deputy do this?
Well, Gail, the why is what the L.A. sheriff says they don't know yet. This story seemed pretty strange from the get-go. Investigators say Reynosa has not yet explained his motive for filing the false claim. He's now lost his job, and he might face criminal charges for filing a false police report.
There was no sniper, no shots fired, and no gunshot injury sustained to his shoulder. Completely fabricated.
Homicide Bureau Captain Kent Wegener says much of Deputy Angel Reynosa's story to police just did not add up.
Much of his statement was self-serving, didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Take a shot from the north of the Lancaster helipad. See him here in the right shoulder. They might have gone through, but...
Reynosa radioed for help on Wednesday from the police station parking lot, saying that he had been shot by a sniper.
I think it's from the apartment windows. There's multiple windows open. I didn't know where the shot came from.
SWAT teams went door to door, evacuating people from the building, while others sheltered in place. Police also searched the area with a helicopter.
When a police officer says he's been shot or shot at, we respond in force. There was a large perimeter to protect this area because we didn't know where this armed gunman was.
Jonte Williams lives in that apartment building.
My family, we had to be outside the house, and I had to stay at my mom's house because they wasn't letting anybody in and out.
Investigators say Reynosa later admitted his story was not true. They found no visible wounds on him, though he did have holes in his shirt from a bullet that he said had grazed him. He later admitted, according to police, he cut the holes himself. Assistant Sheriff Robin Lehman.
It's extremely disappointing.
our deputy sheriffs are held to a higher standard, and unfortunately in this case, he did not act to that standard.
Reynosa had only been a deputy with the LA County Sheriff's Department for about a year. We called the LA Sheriff's Union, but have not heard back. The LA Lancaster has a Facebook page, the Lancaster Sheriff's Department, and the latest post is about this story, and it starts with 5 words: angry, embarrassed, furious, unbelievable, and ashamed.
Why you pull me over for?
What's that?
Why you pull me over for?
My partner asked me to. She was behind me, told me to stop the vehicle. Do you have your driver's license, proof of insurance?
Yeah, I ain't got my driver's license. I got my ID in the trunk.
Okay. What's your name?
Elante McDowell.
McDowell. Is this your vehicle?
This is her vehicle.
Mine. Okay, how come you're driving it?
I didn't know that was against the law.
It's not. It's just sometimes people drive. Is she suspended or something? Is that why you're driving?
No, I'm not.
No, sir.
Okay. You don't have your driver's license on you. You have an ID in the trunk. Where are you coming from?
My girlfriend just picked me up. Why, sir? Is
Okay.
Am I being detained or anything? Can you just...
Yeah, you're on a traffic stop, so yes,
Okay.
you're detained.
It's Alyssa.
Can you just run my name and do what you need to do? I don't need...
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. It's in here somewhere.
Is this the reason why y'all pulled me over?
Do you have a valid license?
Yes, ma'am.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just in the trunk?
My ID is in the trunk. I don't have my actual license.
Okay, where's your driver's
I
license?
have a picture here.
It got burnt down in a fire.
Burned down?
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. McDowell, can you come out of the vehicle for me, please?
Why?
I have to talk to you. You're under an obligation to come out. If you don't come out of the vehicle, I can arrest you.
Am I under arrest?
Yes, a traffic stop.
Step out of the car, please. Yeah, you step out of the car.
You're being recorded.
That's fine. Step out of the car. So are you. Please
Okay.
step out of the car.
Am I being arrested?
You are detained. You are not free to leave. We're asking you to step out of the car.
I don't have to step.
Yes, you do.
I got this on
Yes, you
report.
do.
I got
fine.
this on
You need to
report.
step out of the car. We're
Am I
asking
being
you.
arrested,
I am
sir?
ordering you to step out of
Am
the
I
car.
being arrested?
You are going to be arrested for not listening to a lawful order if you don't get out of the car. Yes.
Am I being arrested? Why are you stopping me and pulling me out my car?
I need you to come out of the car now.
I mean, there's not even a valid reason for the traffic stop. But was he speeding or something? I don't even understand the valid reason.
Okay, am I under arrest, sir?
You
am
are
I
detained. You're not free to leave.
Okay.
You are being detained.
So
right
why
now.
do I have to step out the car?
Because I told you to. It
Anything
is
you
a
need to
lawful
talk-
order. I need you to step out
I
of
know
the car
my rights, sir. I don't.
Step out of the car
Please
now.
do not touch me, sir.
Then step out of the car, or else I'm going to.
I mean, I don't
Because
understand.
I'm ordering you to.
Is there even
I know
a
you're
real
ordering me, but do I
Step out of the car.
I feel the same thing.
Step out of the car.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to.
I'm only going to
what
ask
is
you.
that?
Go back there and speak with him.
Are you supposed to be on the property here, Mr. McDowell?
Huh?
Are you banned from the property?
Stay over here. Don't touch me, bro. Stop touching me. Listen, I'm not. He's not telling me why I'm detained.
You're not afraid.
He's not detaining me. He's not telling me why I'm detained, but.
You're not free to leave. Don't
How?
You're being
detained. You're not.
How? Why am I being detained, sir? Why am I being detained? Why am I being detained?
You're being detained.
Why am I being detained? Why am I being detained? Why am I being detained?
You're being detained. Officer Sargent.
Why am I being detained?
Danielle.
Excuse me, sir. Why am I being detained? Why am I being detained? Am I under arrest?
You're being detained. If you
Why?
If you prefer to go in handcuffs, I can do that for you. You're banned from
How?
the you're banned from the property here.
How?
Because you were given a trespass notice. That's why.
You pulled me over right here. The cop's car show you.
You could have stopped right on the side of the road. You said you came in here yourself.
Where? So that make like why y'all are, oh my god. So why am I being detained?
Well, right now you're being detained because the canine alerted to the presence of narcotics.
Y'all are fucking crazy. Y'all see this? Y'all see this, right?
Babe, I got it on record. Just be cool. Just be smooth, babe. For real. They got the taser. Oh my God. What the fuck are you doing that for? He's in a fucking chokehold and you just tased him? For what?
Put your hands behind your back.
Baby.
Hands behind your back.
I love you so much. For real. I love you so much.
You need to get back.
I love you so much.
All right.
It's okay.
You're okay, big boy.
It's okay.
It's a nice fake. But
It's okay, baby.
back up and don't impede my investigation.
You need to get back right now. Do you not understand that I have a dog in my hand and you will bite
Jalen!
you? Get back.
Hey!
a serious question. Why aren't we talking about Juan Rayford Jr.? Why aren't we talking about Dupree Glass? Here's what you should know. Juan and Dupree were teenagers at a house party. A fight broke out and shots were fired, but no one was injured and no one was hurt. When the police came, the homeowner and other witnesses told the police that the teens were not involved in the shooting, but that didn't stop prosecutors from charging Juan and Dupree with attempted murder. The teens were offered a deal for 15 years. In a society where convictions matter more than people's lives, prosecutors try to get these cases in and out. And if you don't take a deal, they're going to try to make an example out of you. And that's exactly what happened. Juan Rayford Jr. received 11 life sentences and 220 years in prison. Dupree Glass got a similar sentence. And this is how the justice system does our young men. How you give a 17-year-old 11 life sentences, especially when nobody was hurt. We've seen how sharing and reposting things can free people that's been wrongfully convicted. So please, share this and don't wait till it becomes trending before you decide to give a damn.
With the general manager of this hotel here, the Country Inn and Suites in Newport News on J. Clyde Morris Boulevard, and she told me she was investigating the situation and placed that employee on leave while she investigated, and then today it was decided he should be terminated.
Get your family and get out. I don't care. I'm a monkey? Oh, so you're racist. That's why you don't like me.
A fiery shouting match turned racial Friday. A hotel employee calling an African-American man a monkey. That happened at this Country Inn and Suites on J. Clyde Morris Boulevard in Newport News, where Kelsey Cunningham says her mother-in-law was staying.
The room had a pretty strong odor of smoke.
Cunningham says she went down to the desk to discuss the issue with the attendant, eventually telling him they'd likely be asking for a refund.
He kind of got rude at that point and kind of frustrated with me.
Cunningham says she went back upstairs and her husband, D. Fogelman, went down to request a refund for his mother. The attendant became upset, she says, when her husband took the general manager's business card to send an email about the situation.
The animosity started at that point, which is where he started the video.
Please get off of my property. Why? Because you are rude. I don't care. And one, you need my permission, and I do not give you permission. Yeah. I'm a monkey? Oh, so you're racist. That's why you don't like me.
This shouldn't be tolerated at this point, and that's kind of where we decided to show the video.
We went to the hotel today for a response. I spoke with the general manager who provided this statement, which reads in part, on behalf of the Country Inn and Suites by Radisson, Newport News, Virginia, I want to apologize for the inappropriate behavior and comments of one of our employees from an incident that occurred Friday, May 4th. We are taking this matter very seriously and effective today. The employee in the video has been terminated. The hotel says the attendant in the video had only worked there a few weeks.
It's hurtful.
It's an allegation that reminds us of America's legacy of segregation. A workplace break room supposedly for whites only. That's what a former Southwest Airlines worker says existed at Hobby Airport. And he says racism cost him his job. Lauren Tallarico is live at Hobby tonight with the man's lawsuit and the airline's response. Lauren?
Well, then Jamal Parker says he worked for Southwest Airlines for 4 years and that the culture of racism was present the whole time, although the airline disagrees. Southwest Airlines is facing some serious accusations from former ramp agent Jamal Parker.
You would think in 2018 it doesn't happen, but it does.
Parker says he was told about a racist culture by a black supervisor back in 2013, including a whites-only break room.
He said it's just best to avoid that. Just don't go in there, and that's exactly what I did.
According to Parker, the room didn't have a door or sign, but says that segregation was understood and he didn't challenge it.
I didn't want any trouble. I didn't want a target on my back. I have a very good paying job. You know, I have really good benefits. I'm not here to make any waves. So I really just kind of blocked that out. I'm just here to work.
But that mentality changed last April when he was fired for running over and damaging a cable, then not reporting it. The lawsuit claims 2 white employees had only been written up for similar incidents. He also showed us this picture.
There is no reason for us to use this knot whatsoever.
He says it was posted to a work Facebook page after he'd been fired, appearing to show a noose hanging outside a Southwest gate.
Someone took that cord and created a noose and just left it hung there for people to see. It was out in the open.
In a statement, the airline said, "We work relentlessly to foster an environment that is diverse and inclusive. We do not tolerate or condone discrimination of any kind, and we cultivate a workplace that mirrors the customers we serve." Parker disagrees, but even after his allegations, says he wants his job back.
Yeah, Justin, Tara, good evening. Dana Holcomb was on his way back to Killeen after celebrating his birthday in Las Vegas. But it is the airline's actions on a connecting American Airlines flight in Phoenix that he says was racial discrimination. Now he's pushing the airline for change.
Dana was taken off in an airplane so that a dog could fly in the first class cabin.
A serious claim laid out in a lawsuit filed today. Dana Holcomb and his attorney, Reginald McCamey Sr., surrounded by supporters as they detail a lawsuit against American Airlines and several workers. Holcomb says he had an allergic reaction to a support dog belonging to another passenger while on a flight from Las Vegas to Austin with a stop in Phoenix. An accommodation American Airlines says they have to make, saying in part, American makes every effort to accommodate all passengers, including those traveling with and seated near service or support animals. That passenger, Holcomb says, even offered to switch seats, but after no one volunteers, a flight attendant and pilot gets involved. Holcomb says he questioned why he had to move to the back of the plane and then
At that point told him, you're going to go back to the rear of the plane, or you're going to get off the plane and you're going to do it the easy way or the hard way. And that's essentially what happened.
Holcomb was taken off the plane after employees say he was confrontational, a claim he denies.
What American Airlines is doing is discrimination. They have repeatedly humiliated African American citizens by throwing them off of the plane, leaving them with no way home, leaving them with no hotels, just throwing them off the plane.
In response, American Airlines issued a statement which reads in part, quote, "We are proud to serve customers of all backgrounds and are committed to providing a positive, safe travel experience for everyone who flies with us." They want the airline to change their policies on discrimination and how passengers are treated.
We are seeking punitive damages. We are seeking contractual damages.
After Holcomb says he was without his luggage, medicine, and had to find his own way home. He says he stayed overnight in Phoenix before getting on another flight.
Police investigating after flyers advertising for the KKK were found scattered around Martinsville.
The invitation is for a public meeting this Friday night. It even lists an address and phone number. Wish TV's Dan Klein joins us live from Martinsville. And Dan, a few neighbors are alarmed.
Yeah, the address is a very real one, although police are very clear to say the people who live there are not affiliated with the KKK and did not give permission for their house number to be used. Meanwhile, the phone number is also very real, but perhaps more alarmingly, that voicemail message that goes with it claims to be part of the group. A quiet neighborhood, the subject of a disturbing message. The KKK wants you and is inviting all to a public meeting here on Plantation Drive Friday evening. For longtime neighbors, what do you think about that?
It's terrible, but I don't know. I just can't believe it.
It seems like a joke or a prank.
I don't believe it. It really happened.
No one came to the door at the address listed on the flyer. Police say the people who live here contacted them and said they are in no way connected to the KKK. But when you call the phone number at the bottom,
You have reached the Honorable Sacred Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. For membership, please.
a voicemail that sounds all too real.
It's scary. The whole world's scary. Ain't more you scared to walk out your door, scared to leave your house.
Flyers were left around town. Police say they are investigating. Neighbors say Plantation Drive is a nice street. Some believe it's an act of revenge from an enemy of the people who live here. But either way, considering the history of the area and its ties to the Ku Klux Klan, it's not funny.
It don't help Martinsville, that's for sure. That's the way I feel about that, and they should have went some other avenue.
I don't want the Klan in Martinsville, if there is, and I don't think anybody else around here does either.
Leaders in Henrico County are speaking out about Ku Klux Klan flyers that were left at dozens of homes there. Some residents woke up to find the flyers over the weekend. County leaders and the local chapter of the NAACP came together this afternoon to condemn the hate-filled messages. And they had a message of their own for whoever's responsible.
If there's a need that you have and you felt this was your way to get attention, then come forward and see what we can do to help you and change that particular spirit.
It was awful. We've been here 39 years. We've never had anything like that before. I didn't even read all of it because it just
It just made chills in my body, so I threw it away.
The message begins with the following: racial greetings from the Confederate Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. It then invites people to join and includes Bible verses.
So you see this old lady right here? You know what she just did? She saw that book right there, that Obama book, was on the front of the rack, right? So what she did was she took that Quiz Fest shit right there, and she took that and she put it in front of the Obama book. So what I did was I moved it back because I ain't scared of no old lady. So how pathetic can you be? And how spiteful can I be? She's at it again. Watch this shit. Watch this. She's at it again. Now she knows that I put that shit back there. Watch this. Watch this. Look at this bitch. This is hilarious. I should go back and do it again because I'm just that funny. You see? This is how little children learn racism right here. That's how. That's what racism looks like in 2019. It's very covert. It's very, very, very covert. That's what it looks like. How pathetic.
And we want to warn you about this next story. It is very graphic. Police have arrested a 23-year-old Las Vegas woman for having sex out in the open with a pit bull. Metro says Kara Elizabeth Vanderrake was naked in her backyard performing sexual acts with the dog. According to court papers, people walking by the house on North 16th could see what was happening, and they called police. Officers think she was under the influence.
A shocking crime in a Tampa neighborhood where police arrested a man who they say was having sex with a pit bull. Several people witnessed what was happening yesterday in the yard of a home on North Mark Street. They yelled and pleaded for the man, 57-year-old Bernard Marcinek, to stop. When he didn't, they called police.
I never heard of anything like this, and I pray to God that, that the man gets the help that he really needs.
Animal Control took custody of 8 pit bulls that were on his property. Police seized a gun and ammunition from Marcinek as well, who they say is a convicted felon.
Hey everyone, so today I'm going to be doing my video on 10 reasons why I think women should have sex with dogs. Reason number 1, women in history have practiced it. There have been documented cases of ancient Romans and Greeks practicing it for pleasure. Reason number 2, dogs' tongues can get in very hard to reach places and it can feel amazing. Reason number 3, you cannot get pregnant. It is impossible for a dog to impregnate a human, meaning you can have sex 24/7, risk-free. Reason number 4, you cannot get an STD, which is a huge thing nowadays. If you're allergic to dog sperm, that's the only way it can harm you. There was actually a case in, where was that? I think it was in Europe, of a woman dying from an allergic reaction. So that's just pretty much the only thing that can harm you, is if you're allergic to dog sperm. Reason number 5, it has been around since the beginning of time. There have been cave paintings of it since 2000 BC. So it's been around a while.
Southern trees, bearing strange fruit, blood on the leaves, and blood at the roots, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze. Strange fruit hanging from the popple tree. Pastoral scenes of the gallant South, them big bulging eyes and twisted mouth. Scent of magnolias, clean and fresh. Then the sudden smell of burning flesh. Here is a fruit for the crows to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rot, for the leaves to drop. Here is strange and bitter.